Hello, my name is Karen Neese, and I am a homeschooling mom. I've been homeschooling for 8 years. I have two teenagers who are going into 10th grade, and we as Elevation Co-op would like to share with you some of the answers to some common questions that people have when they first start homeschooling. So this is Homeschooling 101, and we're so glad you are here to join us. We hope that this is helpful to you. And as we go along, I'll have the other ladies also introduce themselves. All right, so where do we begin? I think as everybody starts homeschooling, we all begin with the question, why? Why should I homeschool? Shay, would you like to answer this one?
Yes, a lot of us have different reasons. Oh, and I'm so sorry. My name is Shay. I've been homeschooling. This will be my third year. I have preschool all the way through second grade. And a lot of families homeschool for different reasons, and they start out for different reasons. We initially started homeschooling because we felt it would be better for our children to learn at their own pace without pressure of having to move on before they'd grasped certain concepts and be able to have that one-on-one learning. However, as time's gone on, it has become better for our family health-wise. I have health issues, and so it is much better for our family not having to go out with others, being able to do school here without worrying about bringing illnesses home.
Very good. I think everybody has a different reason for why they want to homeschool. And I think that's important that we understand our own reasons for why we want to homeschool. All right. One of the other questions would be, where do I find support and community? Joanna?
Hi, my name is Joanna, and I have been homeschooling for the last 12 years. I have two students who are entering their junior year in high school. I started out finding community on the internet, just doing searches when I first started, and I think you can find them that way. Facebook is a really good place to look for community. If you put in your county, your city, where you live, a lot of times you'll find Facebook pages that have community there that you can connect with other people. There's also all around the country, there's homeschool conventions that you can attend, and the other places where people have found them is within church communities. They've gone to their pastors or to their church leaders and asked about homeschool communities within their area, and that's where I've basically found my homeschool communities. And when there isn't one, who has something that's for your family, you can always start one to do the things that you and your family enjoy.
Very good answer. So as Joanna said, there's lots of places to find community on Facebook. That's probably one of the first places I go, especially because we're military and we move a lot. Find out what's in my community. You're welcome to pause the video and take the moment to look at some of these, but these are some local Facebook groups. There's also Facebook pages, as well as co-ops within your area. So these are a few of them in our area. There's probably more. This isn't a complete list, but co-ops are cooperative learning experiences where you guys come together as homeschoolers and share some of that learning responsibilities. So our next question is socialization a problem? So let's see, Mel.
Hi, I'm Melanie, and I've been homeschooling. It's kind of interesting because I have two children who are grown and in their 20s, and I homeschooled them. And now I'm back homeschooling again, my 7-year-old. So I am excited, and it's a great opportunity to homeschool. Is socialization a problem? Well, you're going to get this question a lot. Your family's going to ask you, and friends are going to ask you, because there's a stigma that there's no socialization involved in homeschooling. And I have to laugh at that, because your kids will get a lot of socialization, as much or as little as you would like them to have, really. There's a ton of groups, and we've talked about a bunch of them. Joanna named some. That's where to start. You start there. There's field trips that they can go on. There's homeschooling groups. There's outdoor groups, there's chess club, there's Lego club, the list goes on and on. So I would say absolutely not. Socialization is definitely not a problem when you homeschool.
Very good. So I also added that there are plenty of opportunities for all ages. So we're not just socializing our kids within their grade levels, we're socializing them within all different age groups. So very true. Good answer. The next one we have is, what do I need to do to legally homeschool? Now, we're not giving you legal advice, but I will point you in the right direction to find the information that you need to know. First of all, you need to know your homeschooling laws within your own state. If you're not here in Utah, then it's important that you look for your individual state. Here's a great website for you. It's hslda.org. They have all of the information you would need, just not only about the legal part of it, but also about all sorts of information you need to start homeschooling. First of all, in Utah, you need to have or file a notarized affidavit with your school district, and then you are responsible to educate your children. So look at that website. That's a great place to start to look for the legal part of this, and that'll guide you as you get started legally, knowing what you need to do. All right, how or what method should I use? Donette?
Hi, I'm Donette. I've been homeschooling for 22 years. I have an adult daughter who's graduated and a couple of younger kids. So right now I'm homeschooling a kindergartner and a fourth grader. And we have used a lot of different methods. When you want to decide what method you want to use, there are lots to choose from. But you should really think about the goals that you have in your education and take into account your lifestyle and how you would prefer to teach and how your children learn best. If you like to do a lot of reading aloud, you might want to look at Charlotte Mason style. If you'd really just rather go with unit studies, then that's an option. Or some people like to do delight directed learning or unschooling, where the children have a lot of say and input in what they're learning. And it's you with a quick Google search, you can find a lot of information and resources to use for any of these methods.
Wonderful. So here's a list of all the different type of methods, or the main type of methods of homeschooling. At the very bottom of your screen, you should see a website. On this website, they describe each type of or method of homeschooling, and then also goes into depth on explaining what they are. So that's a great resource for you as well if you don't know what kind of method or what there was, or that there were even methods for homeschooling. It's a great resource. Okay, our moment, I just want to stop and just say, this may all sound overwhelming, but really you just need to consider, one, your why and how your kids learn as you're looking at the method. And then just realize that homeschooling looks different for every family. So what you do in your family may be completely different than the next person. What you do in your family may be completely different than what the school systems are doing. So understand what your family's needs are, and know that that will help you then decide the method in which you want to homeschool. All right. Can I homeschool a child with special needs? I'm going to let Mel and Darcy take this one.
Okay, so again, I have a son, he's 7, and there's some special needs there. A lot of it revolves around anxiety. So it will be challenging, just like any type of homeschooling with children. However, it's not a reason not to try. And I would say that with my opportunity to homeschool my son, we're able to have a schedule that works with him. We're able to work with him on his strengths. And also we can take time to work on those things socially that he needs because of his special needs. And also that doesn't mean that you failed if it doesn't work out, because sometimes the needs are a lot, and you can get a lot of different professionals involved. Like, you're not going to go without those professionals. You can still participate in all of those things when you homeschool. And I would say for me that if it comes to a point where sending him back to conventional school is what's best for him, I don't see homeschooling as better or public school better. I just see it as an opportunity to be there for him and share with him and teach him. And if it doesn't work out and something works better, then that's fine too. Homeschooling isn't about what's that it's best. It's about what's best for your family. So
I'm glad you added that, Mel, because I think as people watch this video and they're going into it, this is really just an information for those who are interested in homeschooling. It's not a we're better than public school, or we're better than private school, that kind of thing. It's just another option, and sometimes it works best for some families. Darcy, will you introduce yourself and then let us know what you think as well?
Yes, my name is Darcy. I've been homeschooling for 8 years. We have 6 kids who at this point range from 12 to 20. And I have a particular example of what Mel was talking about. We had a special needs child that was not succeeding well in homeschool, and we gave it a really good try for 2 years. Unfortunately, it was not helpful to him, and it was really taking away from the rest of the kids as well. So we decided it'd be best for our family to put him into conventional school. He was a lot more successful there. The other kids could be successful at home, and it was a good decision for our family. So again, what Mel said, don't be afraid if you find it's not working to try something else. It doesn't mean failure. It just means you're always looking for what is best for your family.
Very good. All right, let's go to the next question. Oh, so here is what I did, especially with teaching kids with special needs, that learning is a journey, not only for the kids, but also for the parents who are trying to teach their kids. So I just wanted to add that little note in there. All right, our next question is, how do I pick the best curriculum? Dawnette?
Curriculum is one of the places where the fact that it's different for every family really, really comes through. Even within the same family, when we choose curriculum for our children, we look at the way that they learn. Are they an auditory learner? Are they a kinetic learner? Are they a visual learner? Usually with young children, the more senses you can involve, the better. But some children learn strictly one way, and you have to find a material that will work best for them. You can choose anything from like school at home with lots of workbooks to things that are more based on whole books for children who read really well and enjoy that. There's a book by Kathy Duffy, and I've lost the name of it, but once you've decided the method that you want to use, then you can find either with a Google search or that book that I mentioned. If you Google her, Kathy Duffy, you will find it. But she mentions a lot of different choices of materials. So that's what we look at how our children learn best and go from there. And my children have all used different material. I save everything that we used the first time, and I've not reused a lot of it.
Right. So as she was talking about curriculum, there are religious curriculums, and this is a list that I put together for you. And again, it's not a complete list, but this is a list to kind of get you started. And then we also have some secular curriculum that you can look at. And then I put some math curriculums here, because a lot of times when we look at whole curriculums, often we find ourselves looking for math maybe separate. Sometimes the same thing with science and history and all of that. But those are some curriculums, names that you can look at if you're looking to find curriculum. And then we also have, where do I get it? Like, where do I go to get my curriculum? We'll get into budget in just a minute, but as you look at these websites, some websites you can find curriculum brand new, you can find it used, you can find it within your community, you can find it within your homeschooling community, you can find it at the library. So curriculum, depending on how much you want to spend and what kind of curriculum you're using, there's different websites and different places in which you can find the curriculum you're interested in. All right, our next question is, how much does it cost to homeschool? And I'm going to answer this one. Utah spends about $7,000 per child, and that's just an average number that the public school system puts out per kid. Now, do we spend that much on our kids? Depends on the year, maybe. So let's take a look at it. For example, according to Money Crashers, we spend about $300 to $600 a year if we're homeschooling. And I will tell you that that varies, because when I first started homeschooling, we spent very little because our budget was very little. We chose to go with an online public school system route for a couple years. And then after that, we moved into picking our own curriculum, and we went with whatever budget our family set for ourselves. So for example, when my kids were little, I could get away with finding some of my curriculum used, some of it new, and kind of doing the best I could with the budget I had. And as I've gotten older, there's more expenses. Like we have guitar lessons and drama and other things that we have to put money out towards. So each year it varies, but really as a family, we've been able to set our budget, know how much we can spend, and then just do the very best within that budget. With that said, this screen was to let you know that you set your own budget. You and your family decide what you want to spend. And from there, you move forward. So having said that, there are a lot of resources for you. You can find a lot of resources during homeschooling that are on the internet, such as websites. Some of them are information about how to homeschool, and others are just resources like a science website or a mathematics type website. So there's a lot of free resources on the internet. There's a lot of resources on YouTube. You'll see some names there at the top. Those are some YouTube channels of some veteran homeschool moms. And then at the bottom there, you'll see some YouTube channels that are specific towards a certain subject. But YouTube is a great way to supplement some curriculum and to use as a free resource. If your family financially doesn't want to do it all on their own, or they want to rely on a system that's already put together for you, or you're looking for resources, these are free online and public charter schools that you can choose from. And then again, this is not a complete list, but these are the ones that I put together for you. So there are all sorts of different resources available to you depending on your budget that you can use. All right, our next question. What does a typical day look like? And I have this one for Darcy.
Well, we have tried many different things over the years. If you get a chance to attend a homeschool convention, I recommend you go, because you can learn all kinds of methods for getting the stuff done that needs to get done, and you'll find something that works for you. Some families can go with a lot of freedom. They'll take a hike one day, then they'll learn all about Africa the next. And on the other end of the spectrum is my family. We need a lot of routine and due dates. That's just how we need to operate. If not, nothing would get done. So we typically start the day at 9, and when they were young, we would start with some dance time and a devotion. And then at that time, we were doing online school, so we'd all sit down at our computers and just work away on our own paces. Then I decided to go freestyle, and I would choose the curriculum for each child. Again, though, they would mostly work on their own unless they needed some help. Since I have so many kids, I needed curriculums that would be mostly self-guided or guided by a DVD or something like that. I have almost always insisted they get math and reading and 2 other lessons done before lunch, because that gives them some freedom, but doesn't allow them to procrastinate all day long, which was an issue. It has been for many years, on and off. We go through a system where it's a struggle to finish by 3. You'd think if kids know they can be done by noon, they will. But my particular kids tend to put it off, and so they take long breaks, and I allow for that, but they do need to be finished by 3. That's when mommy is done being teacher and she moves into doing other things for the day. And then as they got older, I found it was really helpful and almost necessary for us to join a co-op or perhaps an online school so that they were accountable to other teachers, and I did not have to keep track of every assignment for every subject. So by now, they mostly run their own schedules. They come at the end of the day and show me what they did and accomplished, and ideally, we talk about it and sign off for the day. Some days, we just keep rolling.
Very good. Okay, so I have here routine. Hold on, let me move my little faces here. A routine can be added structure and direction in your homeschooling day. And she kind of talked about that. This is kind of how we've done it. Sometimes we've had this routines and we've changed it up a little bit. But I also want to remind you that everybody needs to be flexible. So within your homeschooling experience as moms and as even just for the kids, that we need to be flexible. So do what's best for your family, work out those routines, and when they don't work, switch it up and try something new. All right, what are the benefits? I'm going to start with this one, and then ladies, I'm going to let you just kind of chime in what you think the benefit of homeschooling has been for your family. I'll start with the fact that we were a military family. My husband's now retired. And one of the benefits for us was that no matter where we lived, no matter how often we moved, schooling always stayed consistent. And we could take it on the road. So if my husband was deployed for 6 months or longer, we could just be flexible during that time. Any other benefits for you ladies?
We were able to focus on what our family considered most important. So different aspects of family life, spending time together, we were able to focus on that, which was very good for us.
We are able to school year round and take our breaks when we want. And so it's really nice for us that we can do our activities and vacations in the spring and fall when other people are in school and it's not too hot and it's not too cold.
We could tailor our education to meet each child's needs. I have one who's brilliant at math, one who's not. I have one who she started in public school, and by the end of first grade, she was not reading still. And so I thought, she's not getting the attention and the help she needs.
I think you can focus on the strengths of your child and of yourself. That's a big benefit. And flexibility, definitely flexibility.
We were able to move ahead, and so my kids will be graduating early. So we were able to do classes that earlier. So in 7th and 8th grade, they took some high school courses. So now they will both be graduating early.
I love hearing all those benefits. They're all different and all different for everybody's family. So thank you for sharing those. Know that difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. So as you venture out on this and you look at the benefits, just know that sometimes there's also struggles, which we're going to talk about next, but they all lead to beautiful destinations. What are some of the struggles? So let me start out with ours. I would say probably my first struggle when we started homeschooling was I have a son who has a really hard time taking information in as it is, or he always questions everything, which is wonderful for homeschooling because you could literally spend all day answering his one question. But it was sometimes hard for me, or sometimes almost difficult for me to get through a day of homeschooling when every sentence I read or every topic we talked about led to a million questions. And I remember thinking when I first started, oh, why did I choose to do this? And at that point, the struggle was just getting him to absorb the information I wanted to have, but also balancing what he wants to learn from the lessons as well. So that was a struggle for me at the beginning.
I would say motivation. It's hard to motivate your child, and sometimes you wake up and it's hard to be motivated yourself. So that's a struggle. And on those days, I think you just have to give yourself grace and give your child grace and know that you have a new day.
Yeah.
Maybe that day you're gonna hang outside or, whatever it is. But I would say the struggle of motivation is big in our house, especially with the 7-year-old.
Yeah. Any other struggles?
I know for us, some of my struggle has been being able to let go of curriculum. So we started on this curriculum and me wanting to put that square peg into that round hole, and this curriculum's going to work, and not wanting to give up that curriculum, or saying this isn't working, let's change. I know that it's been a struggle for us. Sometimes I've let it go on too long before saying, okay, we need to rethink this, because I loved this curriculum, but really acknowledging this isn't working for my child.
Very good. Sometimes it's hard too when you've spent money on it and then you're like, wait, we have to move on and find something else. Or taking that curriculum and then manipulating it or using it as a guide, but then using it for your family in a way that works for you instead of maybe the black and white that it's on the pages there. Any other struggles that stick out to you? I know one of the ones that I had was comparing myself to the public school system because I used to teach before I homeschooled. And so I tried to bring school, brick and mortar school, home. And that was a struggle for me, learning that I had some freedoms at home to make choices for my family that were different than what they would have gotten within the school system. So any other struggles before we move on?
Sharon, adding to that one, the other thing is comparing ourselves to other homeschool moms.
Yeah, that's a
Because
struggle.
especially if you're in community, you hear what this mom's doing or what that mom's doing, and you start thinking, well, I'm not doing enough, or I'm doing too little. And just remembering that every family is different and every child is different, and that my homeschool isn't going to look like your homeschool, and your homeschool isn't going to look like another mom's homeschool. And just remember that we're all different and our kids are all different, and not to compare ourselves. I think as women, we tend to do that anyway.
Yeah.
And so then you add homeschooling on top of that. And just to remember that we're all different. And I think that was a struggle for me, seeing what other homeschool moms were doing and thinking, oh, I'm not doing enough.
Right.
When
Exactly.
really what I was doing for my kids was enough.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next screen where I have you are enough, because I think that follows through with what you just said. A lot of the struggle sometimes with homeschooling moms is, am I enough? And I'm comparing myself to this mom, and I'm comparing myself to the school system, and I'm comparing. We need to stop for a moment and know that we are enough. And when we're not enough, when it comes to, we talked about special needs and stuff, is knowing that we have the choice to look outside of ourselves too. Because when our kids get to high school and it's like, I'm not enough for chemistry, that there are other choices out there for our kids. As we move along, it's really a journey. So just know, ladies, and gentlemen, that you are enough. All right, our next question is, how do I find patience? This is a great question. And I don't even know if I can answer it 100%, because sometimes I have patience and sometimes I just don't. But I will say this, that sometimes when we need to find patience, we need to stop for a moment for ourselves and take a deep breath and then look at the situation that we're in and decide what we need to do next. So if today is a day where my kids are jumping off the walls and we cannot get through our math lesson, then today is the day that we're going to go outside and we're going to do jumping jacks and say our multiplication table, or I can be flexible within that moment. But instead of like pulling teeth and trying to figure out how do I find myself to be patient with my children and patient with this lesson or patient with my day, that I'm just flexible with being able to look at my situation and then move forward. Does anybody else have any thoughts on patience? Like when your day gets to the point where you're just like, I'm out of patience. What do we do with that as homeschooling moms?
One of the really wonderful benefits about being a homeschool parent is you can step away. If it's just one of those days where everything is falling apart, it's okay to say, okay, we need to take a break and step back, and maybe, okay, we're going to leave the house then for a bit. We're going to go on a walk, a hike, we have that opportunity and that flexibility to step away and regroup and come back the next day and try again.
Exactly. I agree. All right, let's move on. The next one that I have for you is you've got this. Patience or no patience, you've got it. And when you don't have patience, just take a step back, like we've said, and find in that moment what decision you need to make next. But know that that one bad day doesn't equal your whole homeschooling experience. So, or maybe it's 5 bad days. I don't know. Sometimes we have a week that's not so great. But with that said, is you've got this. All right. The next question I have is, what do you wish someone had told you when you first started? And I think this is a great question, especially for those who are watching this video who are looking into homeschooling. What do you wish somebody would have said to you? Joanna?
The first thing is, I think you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, like we've been talking about. Every day you can have this vision in your head, oh, I'm going to sit on the couch with the kids and we're going to read books, and or we're going to do this field trip or that field trip. And some of those are great days and some of them are bad days. And just like in a conventional school, teachers in the classroom have good days and bad days. At home, we do the same. The other thing is, for younger kids, everybody told me this and I did not heed this advice, but keep it simple. For younger kids, reading, writing, math, and to have fun and play games. Now that I'm on the other end of it, I realize the time has gone by so quickly, and I wish I would have played more games with them. I wish I would have done more adventures with them. I was sort of a rule follower, and I made my home look like school instead of really taking this opportunity and just going with the flow a little bit more. Looking back, I wish I would have done that more with them. And again, as we talked about flexibility, making sure that you're flexible. One of the best advice I got from a seasoned homeschool moms when I did start was, with my budget of homeschooling, to remember that you may have to change curriculum. So always save a little bit of money for later on in the school year if you have to change curriculum. Don't spend all your money in the beginning, because you may have to change and buy something else. And the main thing is that if you're going to join a group, figure out what group works best for your family. Just because all your friends are in one co-op doesn't mean that co-op's going to work best for your family. Really find the one that works best for your family. Find the kids that relate best with your kids, and follow your heart with that. God gave you these kids and you know what's best for them. So
Absolutely. I wish somebody would have told me that I could be a little more flexible in the beginning. And on that note, too, with co-op, when I first started homeschooling, I was so focused in on my family and trying to figure out what I was going to do with my kids that I didn't even realize there was a world out there of moms that had community together, who worked together on their children's education. And so it was that whole first year, I was kind of like, focused inward, tunnel vision. I just need to find the right math curriculum, and we need to get through this day. And then as I kind of figured out my mojo, as you want to say it, then I started looking up and looking out. And so as a new homeschooling mom, sometimes you're just going to have time where you're, figuring out your stuff, but just know that there is a community out there that you can reach out to find some of those answers that you need. And if you're watching this video, you're probably a part of a homeschooling Facebook page or something where you've already started that journey. So, all right, so let's kind of sum it up here a little bit. First of all, I want you to know, next to this little boy, I have the word grace. And I just want to start out with that word because I think all of us know that we need a little grace, whether it's just being a parent within our home or when we start to actually educate and homeschool our kids, or even if they're within the homeschooling or within the regular school systems, that grace is always a big part of this experience. So we need to laugh. We need to find our joy in this process, and then forget perfection. I think that's the first thing I want to say. We're not perfect. So forget perfection. Let go of unrealistic expectations. Whenever you go into a new situation, you always have certain expectations. And I love buying new curriculum every year, and I get that curriculum, and it's like Christmas, and we open it up, and it's all exciting. But put some of the expectation away, because sometimes that leads to a little bit of I don't know what the word is. I was going to say sadness, but if we have too high of expectations for certain things, just be flexible with yourself, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Don't compare yourself, or don't compare your homeschooling experience with others. And Joanna touched base on that a little bit already. Each experience is different. When we start comparing ourselves, then we have a measuring stick there, and sometimes we don't measure up to what other people are doing, but that doesn't mean that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Trials and errors, and she talked about curriculum, that's part of the journey. Your schedule, trial and error, that's part of the journey. So realize that you're going to learn through your mistakes when you're homeschooling as well. And the last but not least, homeschooling is different for every family. And I think we've said that probably more than once within this video, is that each family has their own why, therefore their own method. And so it looks different for everybody's families. All right, so ladies, I want to thank you for coming on here, taking your time today just to answer some of these simple questions. For those of you who are watching, we hope that this was a helpful resource for you. We hope that some of the Facebook pages and websites and just some of the information that we've given you has been helpful, but most importantly, we hope that we have given you the opportunity to see what it looks like for us a little bit, and then to encourage you as you move forward that you're not alone, that you're part of an amazing homeschooling community within your own area, as well as within this virtual world we call Facebook. So thank you so much for joining us. If you want to learn more about Elevation Co-op, feel free to visit our website if you have any questions. Elevation Co-op has an email. You can email there on the screen and just send us some of your questions. If you are interested in an answer and question session, we'll be doing a couple of those this summer. Just send us an email and we can send you the information for that as well. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. And until we meet again,